What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Jalen Talk Sports, and we're here for our annual video of NFL head coaching hires and grades. Um, so now all 10 coaching vacancies have technically been filled. We don't know what the Raiders are doing, but technically we've heard that they're going with Clint Kubiak. That's going to be their guy. So that's why I felt comfortable enough to make the video now instead of waiting a week. So the first guy we're gonna talk about is the Steelers and Mike McCarthy. And I gave Mike McCarthy a B plus. And you may be asking, why a B plus? I feel like it should be much lower, Jalen. I see where you're coming from, where you think that it should be lower. And Mike McCarthy as a coach gave me the reason to give him a B plus. He's not a bad head coach. The problem Steelers fans and I found with the hire is that I don't think this is the correct hire for right now. The Steelers are always kind of in a state of limbo. They're never bad enough to get a really high draft pick, and they're never good enough to actually do anything in the playoffs. Which leads me to say, you need to pick a direction. This team is not good enough to get all the way. I say you rebuild. And I think if that's the direction you go, you don't hire a guy like Mike McCarthy. And if you decide to keep this same pattern you had while you were under Tomlin, Mike McCarthy won't be here in a couple years. When you hire a coach, I don't think you should hire them for a short term period. I think you want them to be with you for the foreseeable future. You don't want to hire a guy and then fire him the next year. That's the worst thing you could do. And Mike McCarthy kind of reeks of that, where I don't think he could last long, especially if he doesn't match the sort of success Tomlin had. So that's why I gave it a B plus. A plus, Giants, John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh was the best head coach on the cycle this year. And the Giants went out and got him. And that's what you need to do when you see one of these guys that you know has lots of options and is considered to be the best one available, you go out and get them. That's why I say A plus. Last season wasn't the greatest year for John Harbaugh, but the circumstances weren't ideal. I did say in that video where I talked about coaches I think should be hired, I meant should be fired, and I put his name in there. I thought, his time at the Ravens was coming to an end. I think once you reach a certain point, you see this, he's been with them for 18 years. So once you reach that point, you sort of lose the team, or you're no longer the right option to go forward with. And I think it's not because he's bad. I think they just needed a new face, a new voice, a new identity. But there's nothing wrong with that. And I think this guy comes in, he fixed the Giants. The Giants have talented players, and they have, you know, a good draft pick. And I think John Harbaugh is a good guy to bring in to kind of reset the culture and try to bring in a winning mentality. That's what he's done throughout his career. He's won, he's won, he's won. Yes, he only has one Super Bowl, but he's constantly in the playoffs. He's constantly making his team competitive, hard nosed, gritty, and letting them get to that playoff, regardless of the result there. So that's why I think this is an A plus hire. They went out and they got the best guy available. Browns, D plus for Todd Monken. The funny thing about this hires was I gave it an F when I originally made the graphic. And then I changed it to a D plus based off just like interactions I've seen with Todd Monken. He seems like a cool guy. Like people like him. And I think that's just one part of the job. People liking you. If they like you, there's a chance you can maintain a locker room. That's how we got to the D plus. The hire itself isn't great. You get a guy who is 60, I believe. I believe he's turning 60 or he's 60 right now. He has no head coaching experience, and you had a lot more attractive options in terms of people you could hire as your head coach. You talk about the passing game coordinator out in LA for the Rams, and then you had the OC from Minnesota, and then you could have also hired Jim Schwartz, your defensive coordinator, who already is known in the locker room and people really do like him there. And now you're gonna lose him, and he's very vital to the success of the team, I believe. So you bring in Todd Monken, inexperienced head coach, experienced coach, but inexperienced head coach. You probably could have got better options. I just don't feel like this is a long term hire. I feel like Todd is a bridge coach. He kind of feels like when the Texans hired like a Lovey Smith or David Culley. They weren't really being seen as a top head coaching candidate for the cycle. And it seemed as if nobody wanted the job and they just had to settle. And when you had someone like Jim Schwartz in your building who wants the job and you pass him over for someone else, that makes it look even worse. Todd Monken could be successful. Who knows? But from the outside perspective right now, it's a D plus for me. I think you could have done a lot better. Bills, Joe Brady. I almost made a video by itself for the Bills, just the Bills, because they fired Sean McDermott. And I have this conversation, I believe, every year with my dad. And I tell him they should fire Sean McDermott. I'm not a Bills fan. I actually hate the Bills. And I'm Canadian. I live very close to Buffalo, honestly. I hate this team. I hate this franchise. And I don't want to see them ever succeed. However, I will point out truth when I see truth, and I'll point out lies when I see lies. And I felt bad at the end for Sean McDermott. He lost his job because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the most overrated player in the league. I'm just gonna say it. You don't have to agree with me, but I think he gets protected and he gets babied by the media and the fans because of his traits. Josh Allen is a quarterback that gets you fired because when he messes up bad. And Joe Brady is going to be a victim of this. He's not proven to me that he should be a head coach yet. He's still rather young, honestly. And his offense in Buffalo hasn't been really that impressive. This felt a little rushed. It felt like their search wasn't cohesive enough or expansive enough. I don't think they put out a wide enough net. Joe Brady just felt like I think it's something they feel familiar with and it's someone they probably feel they can control. I feel like I learned a lot this couple weeks about the Bills ownership and the Bills general manager. And I realized they're in one accord and the head coach is kind of on its own. And Joe Brady kind of being undeserving of a role like this means he has to kind of be a yes man to those people. And that can go really bad. I hope he succeeds. I gave him a C plus because I believe he has some potential. But I don't think this is the right hire. It's an okay hire, but it's not the right hire. And what can you really do? You have to watch and see what he's actually capable of doing in that role. So he has the possibility to boost his grade throughout the season if he impresses me. But C plus for now. Falcons B. Browns fans are gonna be mad at me. Shadur fans are gonna be mad at me because I gave him a B. They're like, this guy sucks. No, he doesn't suck. Actually, he just coached in Cleveland. What Kevin Stefanski was able to do in his 6 years in Cleveland was honestly extremely impressive to me. My entire life, my entire 20 years of life, I've never seen the Browns do anything good. It sounds crazy to say, but they've never impressed me. They've never been successful. And it seemed that when Kevin Stefanski came in, everything changed. Yes, there was some bad moments, but I think that's not necessarily down to Kevin Stefanski. It's more down to bad management and bad ownership. And Kevin Stefanski consistently overperformed, I think, with what he had. And he got a bad card thrown at him a lot of times. Deshaun Watson coming off his allegations. I don't think I'd want any part of that. And then you saw what happened when he came. He wasn't very good. So he always had to make the most out of nothing. I think the Falcons have a lot of something. So if he's able to kind of replicate what he was able to do in Cleveland, especially at the start, I think the Falcons could be extremely successful. Do I say Super Bowl? No. They could get there. You never know. But I think this is going to become a more competitive team in the NFC. They're in the weakest division in the NFC South, the South Division, and I feel like that division is always up for grabs every year. The Bucks are they're a victim. They're a victim of circumstance because they just happen to have the most cohesive roster within that division. Their coach sucks, and Todd Bowles should be gone by next year at least. The Saints are still trying to get where they need to get to, and then the Panthers, they're kind of crawling up now. I feel like the Falcons have the right pieces to be a 10-win team, 11-win team if they do it right. And I think Stefanski can bring in a system that can get the job done. B. Dolphins, Jeff Halfley, B minus. I wasn't really moved, I guess you could say. I'm not moved by this hire. I don't have much to say because I didn't really hear much about this guy before the Dolphins started interviewing him. He's a DC from the Green Bay Packers. They have a really good defense. That's not really your problem in Miami. Your problem is the offense, regardless. I thought Mike McDaniel was too premature for that job. I don't think he was the right fit. And Halfley, he's gonna walk into a situation where this could go really, really bad or really, really good. And it depends on what they're able to do on offense. Who is gonna play quarterback for this team? And sometimes when I give these grades, it's not really about the person itself, it's about the situation. Certain coaches aren't gonna succeed in these type of situations because there's too much uncertainty. I don't know enough about Jeff Halfley to say, oh yes, he's gonna come in and he's gonna turn this around. Do I hope that? Of course. We never want these guys to fail. Um, but B minus because I think there could have probably been better options, and they seem to really zero in on him extremely early in the process. And I don't think he was gonna be taken away from them. So B minus because of situation and a lot of uncertainty about what he's going to be as a head coach. But honestly, I wish him the best and success, and I hope he turns that team around. Robert Sala, B. I was witness to Robert Sala in New York Jets at the New York Jets as a head coach because he was in my division. And what I learned about Sala was he's a really good defensive coach. But I don't know how I feel about him as a head coach. He's a great coordinator. And when you when you give these guys a second chance at the head coaching role, it's a very risky thing. If this was Salah before he went to the Jets, I think the grade would be higher. But seeing what I saw when he was in New York, it could go either way. Because the Titans right now, they're giving a very Jetsy sort of organization where there's a lot of instability. The owner does not know what they're doing. They don't have a culture of success, right? Robert Sala got screwed by the New York Jets. He's not a bad coach, but it's the Jets. It's kind of like, oh, it's the Browns. I can't really judge you that much because it's the Browns. That's kind of the thing with Salah, and that's why the grade is okay, where you have it as a B. I feel like this is just a restart for him. I'm gonna negate everything that happened in New York, and I'm giving him a fresh chance, right? And that's why it's a B. I don't think he's a great head coach. He didn't show me that he was a great head coach, but I want to believe that he can probably get it right. When you have a job and you get fired or like you get lots of reprimanding from your professor, your coach, your teacher, whoever is in charge of you or whatever you're doing. And then you redo the assessment and then you do better, right? That's what I think could possibly happen for Salah. You do a test one time and you fail it and your teacher lets you do a redo. And when you do the redo, you kind of know what you're doing now. You understand the task and the responsibility and what you need to do to be successful, and you get a second go at it and you do better. And that's what Salah should try to do with the situation. Improve, and he has a lot of the tools to possibly do that. You have a young quarterback who went first overall last year. He's a very talented player. How can you transition his flaws and turn them into strengths? And how can you take this team and improve them? It's going to take time. I don't think it's going to be immediate success, but I think he can probably get it right if he does the right things. He's in that division where I think you could do that. Ravens, Jesse Minter, A minus. I I really struggled with this grade because I'm not super moved by Jesse Minter. I give him an A minus because he was the most highly sought after coordinator for a head coaching role. Everybody wanted to talk to Jesse Minter. And if you get the guy that everybody wants to talk to, that means there's something there. Right? There's something there. A minus is a grade because we've never seen him in the head coaching position. And he's walking into a high pressure situation with a talented roster, a talented quarterback, and a team with high expectations for success. Can you bring success? We don't know because we've never seen him do it. What he was able to do with the Chargers defense, and then if you saw him while he was at Michigan, he's a really good defensive coach. Can he implement that to the Baltimore Ravens defense? I believe so. Baltimore has really great defensive players. Think about Roquan, think about Kyle Hamilton, those sort of guys. And watch how he utilizes them. If he's able to do that and the offense can be situated correctly, this could be really good. This could be great. And he can be here for the foreseeable future. But this is a high pressure situation for a new head coach who's never done it at this level. You know, have patience, I guess. And I think give him more than 1 year if it doesn't go horrible. Give him a chance. That's what I say. Give him a chance, and he might prove us all wrong, and this could turn from an A minus to A plus. Because if you're that highly touted, that means there's something there, and people really do believe in you in NFL circles. So can Jesse Minter live up to the expectations? That's what we'll see when he gets this job and he gets into that team and they play. Let him play ball. Raiders, A minus. This is the same thing as Jesse Minter. This is just the offensive version of that. Everybody was kind of interested in Clint Kubiak. And he's a rising offensive coach, if that makes sense. And they saw what he did this year with the Seahawks. And I'm going to get firsthand, first row seats to this on Sunday. And then I'll be truly impressed or not impressed. If he beats me, then I think, okay, yeah. The Raiders is a difficult situation because the Raiders are kind of like the Jets and the Browns. Lack of success, lack of winning. And nobody ever seems to work out in these places, regardless of how highly regarded they are by the media and the fans and the players. It never seems to work in these places. Clint is relatively inexperienced. He's not been doing this high level coaching thing for a super, super long time. What I will say is he has a lot of people around him who have elevated him to this point. You know, he's been around really brilliant minds in football, including his father, who's a great offensive coach. So Clint has all the support and the resources around him. And hopefully Tom Brady really gets involved in the Raiders because I think under Davis, it's going to be a lot of turbulency, lots of turbulence. Can they be stabilized? Can Clint stabilize them? It's an A minus because he's the best offensive candidate that you could get, and a lot of other people wanted him, and he seems to have chosen you. Can he make it work with what they have? Is Fernando Mendoza the right guy? Can he make Fernando Mendoza look good at the NFL level? That is what we'll see. With these inexperienced guys, it's hard to grade them because they don't have a huge body of work. I grade them based off what people are saying about them. I grade them based off the potential they seem to have and what they're being able to do with the talent they have. So it's really up for debate, but I think Clint could do a really good job. Lastly, Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur gets a B because of where he's going. He was kind of like the fallback option. It's like if I can't get this guy and I can't get this guy, I guess I'll go with Mike. And Mike is being thrown into a really interesting situation. The Cardinals have a couple pieces that you can build around, but they haven't proven their ability to be a successful team in a long time. Can this be the guy that turns it around? You look at where he comes from, you look at the people he's been around, and he has kind of the blueprint to be successful. You know, he's been under Shanahan and he's been under McVay. You've seen how these coaches that have been under them have been able to kind of turn around the teams that they go to. Can the Cardinals figure out how to fix the situation they have going on there? Who is going to be the quarterback? I think that's the biggest question. And if they can get that right, it can catapult them. Problem is, they play in the toughest conference in the toughest division in the league. So he's gonna have to be on a really long leash for my eyes. I think he needs to be on a long leash because this is not gonna be something you get done in 1 year. You need a little bit of time. And if they give him the time, I think he could be successful. They don't give him the time, this could be a really bad hire because you won't have much to judge off. You'll just see a bad record. So, yeah, I think it's a B. It could be worse, it could be higher. But honestly, he's right. He's an average hire right now. I think you could do worse. And you could probably do better. But I think you could do worse. And a lot of people didn't want this job. So getting out of this cycle with someone like Mike LaFleur is honestly a plus. That's all I got for you guys today. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment on the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.